What if Earth suddenly stopped spinning? Imagine a world where, in one instant, the familiar, reassuring rotation of our planet ceases. For billions of years, Earth has turned steadily, completing a rotation every 24 hours. This rotation defines our days and nights, drives weather patterns, and subtly influences countless other phenomena on our world. But what if, by some unfathomable event or intervention, Earth suddenly stopped spinning? The consequences would be immediate, catastrophic, and enduring. Let's explore, step by step, what would happen if our planet's spin came to a sudden and absolute halt. To begin, it's essential to appreciate the sheer scale and energy involved in Earth's rotation. At the equator, the surface of the planet moves at about 1,670 kilometers per hour, or roughly 1,040 miles per hour. Even further from the equator, cities like New York or London are still hurtling eastward at hundreds of miles per hour. Every object not attached solidly to the bedrock, air, water, people, buildings, is moving in unison with Earth's surface. If everything suddenly stopped, the principle of inertia, described centuries ago by Isaac Newton, would dictate that everything not anchored to the core would keep moving at that same velocity until something stopped it. The most immediate and undeniably devastating effect would be the winds. Imagine standing outdoors at the equator the moment Earth's rotation grinds to an instant halt. The ground beneath your feet would stop, but your body and the air around you would be propelled eastward at over 1,000 miles per hour. This is the ultimate car crash, scaled up to planetary proportions. Entire forests, cities, oceans, mountains of air, and everything within them would be swept into a colossal, destructive tidal wave surging eastward. Skyscrapers would tumble, trees would snap, vehicles would become deadly projectiles, and entire landscapes would be scoured blank. Tsunamis would follow immediately behind this shockwave. Earth's oceans, unanchored, would continue their journey at breakneck speed. Catastrophic waves, hundreds of meters tall, would surge over continents, obliterating coastlines and pushing far inland. The greatest floods in history would pale in comparison. Submerged cities, shattered infrastructure, and devastated ecosystems would be the result. After the initial devastation, the planet would be shrouded in dust, debris, and chaos. But the impact doesn't end here. The cessation of Earth's spin would reshape our very experience of time, gravity, and climate. Earth's rotation causes a slight bulge at the equator, a result of centrifugal force. Stopping the spin would cause this bulge to gradually flatten, redistributing the oceans toward the poles. This would result in previously equatorial lands, now above former sea level, emerging as new continents, while polar regions would be flooded, submerged beneath newly expanded seas. The rearrangement of water would drown once habitable zones and expose others. Perhaps the most profound change would be to our cycles of day and night. If Earth stopped spinning relative to the sun, one half of the world would face permanent daylight, while the other would be locked in perpetual darkness. However, in most scenarios posited by physics, if Earth simply ceased spinning on its axis, but continued orbiting the sun, a single solar day, sunrise to sunrise, would last the length of a year. Each location would endure 6 months of baking sunlight, followed by 6 months of frigid darkness. This extreme day-night cycle would play havoc with the climate. During the long day, temperatures would rise sharply, potentially boiling away bodies of water, desiccating soil, and rendering vast swaths of land uninhabitable. All but the hardiest forms of life would perish in these scorching conditions. Atmospheric circulation patterns would break down. Absent the Coriolis effect, which guides the movement of air, storms, and winds, would change radically or disappear. Weather, as we know it, would cease to exist. Then, after half a year, comes the 6-month-long night. Temperatures would plunge far below freezing. Without sunlight, most plant life would wither and die. Food chains would collapse, devastating animals dependent on those plants. Only organisms deep underground, or those adapted to perpetual cold and darkness, might find a way to cling to survival. With the oceans still in turmoil from their redistribution and the absence of regular tides driven by rotation, marine life would struggle to adapt. Human civilization, so finely tuned to the cycle of day and night, would be pushed to the brink. Survivors from the first shockwave would face a new world. Electricity grids, water supplies, and communications would all be lost. With much of the world's infrastructure destroyed, isolated communities would face the challenge of surviving the temperature extremes. In the half-year of sunlight, relentless heat would threaten crops and health. In the half-year of night, food reserves would dwindle. People would struggle to withstand the cold without adequate heating. But there is more to the story. Earth's rotation not only gives us day and night, but also underpins the magnetic field that shields our planet from cosmic radiation. The movement of molten iron in Earth's outer core is partially driven by the planet's rotation, creating the geodynamo that powers our magnetic shield. Without rotation, the dynamo would falter, and the magnetic field would eventually decay. This would increase Earth's vulnerability to solar and cosmic radiation, making the environment even more hostile to life. Moreover, the absence of rotation would throw global wind currents into utter disarray. Currently, Earth's rotation causes the Coriolis effect, which curves the path of winds and currents, organizing them into belts and cells that drive weather and support agriculture. With the Coriolis effect gone, air would flow directly from high-pressure to low-pressure areas, resulting in unpredictable, potentially monstrous weather, the likes of which humanity has never experienced. The Moon's orbit, too, would be affected. Earth's rotation helps maintain tidal friction, gradually slowing the planet and pushing the Moon further away. If the Earth stopped rotating, these forces would be disrupted. The Moon's orbit might become more unstable, and tides driven purely by the Moon's gravitational pull would be weaker, more regular, but still significant compared to the now absent solar tides. Within just days of the event, species extinction would accelerate. The delicate balance that supports rainforests, grasslands, and polar ecosystems would be shattered. Only life forms capable of enduring extraordinary heat, cold, or prolonged dormancy might survive. Deep-sea creatures would fare better, shielded from surface tumult. Subterranean microbes and fungi might survive beneath the surface, insulated from temperature extremes by rock and soil. Human ingenuity might, in isolated pockets, find a way to survive. Underground bunkers, shielded from temperature extremes and radiation, could become sanctuaries. Hydroponic gardens, powered by whatever energy sources remain, might keep small communities fed. Artificial lighting would become essential, especially for supporting any crops during the seemingly endless night. Water would need to be collected and conserved carefully, given the massive flooding and loss of usual catchment areas. Over time, slowly, the catastrophic changes would settle into a new equilibrium. Continents newly emergent from the seas would become desert-like. Polar regions, once ice-frozen, would become vast shallow seas. The biosphere would be unrecognizably changed, with new evolutionary pressures possibly giving rise to unique, resilient forms of life, adapted to these harsh, bizarre conditions. But this is just if the Earth were to stop suddenly. If, instead, Earth's rotation slowed gradually and came to a halt over millions of years, life might have some small chance to adapt. The fossil record teaches us that life can survive enormous upheaval, given enough time to evolve. Over generations, creatures could evolve strategies of hibernation, migration, or genetic resistance to radiation and extreme climate. But a sudden stop, for all but the most lucky or prepared, it would be extinction. All these calamities stem from a single, almost incomprehensible event. The reason they are so extreme is that Earth's rotation is not a minor detail. It is a fundamental pillar of our planet's physical identity. It governs time, climate, oceanic and atmospheric movement, and the rhythms of civilization and nature alike. So, what could bring about such a scenario? In theory, there is no physical mechanism that could instantly stop Earth's rotation. The forces required would far exceed anything natural or artificial. An impossibly huge impact with another planet or an invisible, inconceivable force are necessary ingredients for such a conjecture. In all likelihood, it is a scenario best left to the realm of science fiction. Yet it is an interesting thought experiment that helps us realize just how finely tuned and fragile our planet really is. Beyond the physical destruction and immediate chaos, there would be psychological and cultural effects among any survivors. The sense of time, marked for millennia by the cycle of the sun and the stars, would vanish. Concepts like day, night, month, and even year would become obsolete, replaced by endless sun or endless dark. Human customs, religions, and societies, so many of them intimately connected to the movements of the heavens, would be forced into radical reinvention. In the absence of rotation, even the stars would appear to stand still, removing the nightly spectacle that inspired myths, navigation, and hope across countless generations. The tropics, formerly warm and lush, would become deserts under eternal sun, while the far north and south, drowned under new seas, would no longer be frigid. Civilizations that survived would likely cluster near the perpetual twilight zone, the narrow band between the hot, sunlit face of the planet and the cold, dark night side, a narrow strip where temperatures might be tolerable enough to support life. The long-term fate of humanity, if it can survive at all, would hinge on adaptability, cooperation, and the ability to engineer new systems of energy, agriculture, and shelter. Perhaps future generations would live in massive, mobile habitats that follow the edge of the day-night divide, always seeking the most hospitable conditions. Cultures might fragment, change, and adapt in ways we cannot begin to predict today. Life would go on, in some form, if the challenges could be met. But Earth would be a strange, alien world compared to the one we know. A world shaped by a single, cataclysmic pause in its ancient, cosmic dance. In summary, the sudden cessation of Earth's rotation would be a cascading disaster of unimaginable scale. The initial winds and tsunamis would wipe out almost all signs of civilization within minutes. The altered balance of water would redraw the map of continents and seas. Temperatures would swing from searing heat to killing cold in half-year cycles. The collapse of the magnetic field would expose the planet to deadly radiation. Survival would become a struggle against planet-wide extinction, a test not just of resilience, but of luck and preparation. Looking outward, our little thought experiment is a reminder of just how unique Earth is in the universe. Its stability, its rotation, its cycles of day and night, all are the product of billions of years of cosmic chance and careful balance. To stop the planet's spin is to unmake that balance in one terrifying instant. Yet, within that destruction is a profound lesson in humility. The forces that govern our world are mighty and ancient, greater than any ambition or technology. They are a reminder to cherish our planet's ordinary miracles, the rising and setting of the sun, the gentle rhythm of the tides, the breeze that cools a summer day, and the constellations that wheel overhead at night. So, perhaps, the next time you watch the sunset, you might pause, for just a moment, and reflect on the silent, imperceptible turning of the earth beneath you. In that motion lies the foundation of every life, every dream, every possibility that has ever graced this planet. And for now, the world keeps turning. Thank you for watching the video. What do you think about today's topic? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and share the video to support the channel. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.